Yo, Rocco B, Scotty G, highly explicit NFL podcast. We're back for episode 10. Holy shit. How you doing? We got Scotty G over there in California.
How you doing?
Now, we got a lot of shit today, baby. I'm fucking excited. We're coming off of Dr. Tomas and his mock draft and his crazy ass 7 quarterbacks in the first round. And you also had no running backs. Shit just doesn't vibe with me. I don't know what you felt about it.
Dr. Tomas and Mel would get along very well, I think.
I think him and Mel are going to have about 4 or 5 right. I guarantee it. It'll probably be in the top 5. You know, we talked about that. We want to beat the prognosticators. We can't stand them. I just heard Skip Bayless talking about how great Mel Kiper is. It's a bunch of shit, okay? But news today, Aaron Donald apparently is beating the shit out of people in Pittsburgh. He doesn't just, wreck people on the field. He's wrecking them in bars too. We got a bunch of breaking news signings and news for you. Big fucking names in the news in the past couple of days. We're gonna have an awesome discussion about wide receivers and their value and their worth, and also
they're diva-ish. They're diva-ish qualities.
And again,
they're very diva-like.
We will disagree. I mean, Scotty has always thought that wide receivers are divas.
Yeah, you might be the only one in the world who doesn't think wide receivers are divas.
I'm not saying they're not, but we'll save it for later. And we also have unbelievable stats that will back up the worth of wide receivers over the past 10 years in the draft. And then we have our titillating. Oh, yeah. I said titillating. Top 5, it's back, baby. It's top 5 studs that we have remaining in our draft board after our first round mock.
Hey, Rock, let me stop you right there because, I'm always criticizing you on this whole tit job thing and all these tits going around. And with that being said, I think I'm going to also have my titillating top 5 for draft prospects left out of the first round on my personal mock draft.
Absolutely. And that's why we wanted to give it to you, Rocco B and Scotty G's. We did our separate mock drafts. We put that out for you guys. We're going to make sure that on April 29th that we put our money where our mouth is. And we also think that these top 5 guys that we picked out that we didn't make our top 32, they might make it in. And I know one of mine does just because of the news that came out yesterday. So, finally, we have 2 fans of the week this week, both of them coming from Louisville, Kentucky. Brennan, he comes to us as a big Seattle Seahawks fan. He's got a question for us. And also Steven is a Detroit Lions fan, and he has a question for us as well. I fucking knew that you'd love it.
Had to go to Detroit. I fucking jinxed it. I swear. I jinxed it last time I said it. It was the one team I called out as the fucking next team that we
Unbelievable. Literally the day after we talk about it, I'm in the gym pumping up, and all of a sudden, I got a guy who's wearing a Detroit Lions shirt here in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Scotty was just talking shit about the Lions, okay? It's unbelievable. It really was unbelievable. So we got that coming up, but, dude, let's just get to it. Did you see the guy's face that Aaron Donald fucking wrecked in a bar last night or Saturday night?
I didn't know if that was an eyelid or a golf ball on his fucking or a softball on his fucking face. Did you see that? I mean, the whole side of his face is
face is caved in, just like the whole side of the offensive line. Usually he caves in on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's caved in. It looks like it's like exploded. It's like all swollen. It's disgusting.
So the dude gets whacked apparently by Aaron Donald at some point between 3 and 4 in the morning, late Saturday night at a bar in Pittsburgh. It's where Aaron Donald's from. It's where he lives in the offseason. They bump into each other, apparently. Apparently, both of them got fucking bounced out. And on the outside of the bar, bada boom, bada bing, Aaron Donald hits him in the fucking side of the face.
Give him the old 1-2,
Hello. And this guy says he suffered severe trauma. He's got a broken eye socket, a broken nose, and 16 stitches. So
this guy just got fucking paid is what he got. I wish I was this guy. I'll take a shot in the face from fucking Aaron Donald.
We always said you take a shot in the mouth. I said, hey, here's the thing. The fact that this is out now, like back then, even a couple of years ago, like shit like this didn't come out like that. And there's pictures and there's fucking proof and there's all this shit. Like usually, like you said, they got paid under the table and that was it. It was over. This shit, the NFL, the way they're getting with Zeke apparently, touching some broad's tits or pulling her shirt down or whatever he did, he got 6 games. So you think this ain't going to be anything? He's going to be gone.
This guy looks like his eyebrow exploded all over his. Like he has no eyebrow.
Just think, you see the size of Aaron Donald?
Punched his eyebrow off. It's gone. It's gone. This guy will never have an expression for the rest of his life.
He punched his eyebrow off.
You'll never know what he's thinking.
He's Charlie Villanueva all over again. I honestly think, man, that this is 6 games. I mean, this is as simple as that.
Yeah, it's not good. The only thing I could say, though, is what I've noticed a lot in the past, well, in the recent past, is situations like this, because it happened now and the season's, I mean, it's not too close, but it's getting there. You know, we're at the draft.
4.5.
A lot of times what happens is they'll wait for the investigation to conclude. And if that's the case, he might not get suspended to the following season. Like, depending on how his lawyers are able to drag this out, it just depends. Because, I mean, didn't that happen with...
well, you're right, but Zeke, they did that with Zeke, but the problem
did with Zeke, yeah.
Is, you know, are they learning? Are they learning from what they did? Are they acting quicker? You know, this whole thing with Watson, too, they're going to act on it before the fucking trial starts or whatever. So
all I know is the NFL is like, thank God it wasn't a woman, thank God there's no drugs, and thank God there's no race involved.
Absolutely.
That's all they're praying. They're like, you can kick the shit out of anyone you want as long as those 3 things aren't incorporated.
You're exactly right. And I think that's the only way that I think it maybe gets swept under the rug. But to be honest, he's getting suspended. I really believe it.
I think so. I think it's a minimum of 3 games.
You're talking about the Rams. You're talking about a big name in Aaron Donald. Let's talk about some big names that signed with some teams in the past couple days since we've talked to you last. Let's go in reverse order. Let's go the oldest first, and this is perfect. We said oldest because we got James Conner, who was one of my top 5 dogs.
The Terminator.
He's the Terminator, John Conner, apparently. James Conner went to the Arizona Cardinals, or the Oldinals, as we've been calling them, for a 1-year deal. Shocking, another 1-year deal. But he's a perfect replacement for Kenyon Drake.
I don't think that's a bad move. I like that move, honestly.
So I think they're getting better, like we said they would. And I think Connor's in a great sitch. I really do.
Sitch.
So, and then speaking of another running back, you want to talk about the fucking icing on a Super Bowl cake? Giovanni Bernard signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Holy shit.
Dr. Tomas might as well start picking out his tattoo shop right now.
He
might as well start figuring out who his artist is going to be, where he's getting it,
yes.
what part of his body he's getting on, because this might have just been already wrapped up now.
Let's figure out what faces we want to look like, Scotty. Let's get our facial hair ready.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's get it. Okay.
We can still propose it.
And then we got they'll have the tattoo artist will put the sword in our mouths. It'll be perfect. So like I said, you got a 3-headed legitimate monster. You got Rojo, who has some fumbling issues, but he's the Lightning. You got Lenny Fournette's the Thunder. Then you got Bernard's the third down catching back like James White was. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why they brought LaShawn McCoy in last year, and he just is done. He's done. He's been washed up for like 2-3 years.
Yep.
And I think a lot of teams remember what he was, and a lot of teams are, still trying to catch that lightning in a bottle. I mean, this guy led the league in scrimmage yards for like 4 or 5 years for a while. Like he was a stud, but he fell off quite quickly.
They wanted the real McCoy, but no, they got something else. But
they got the fucking decoy.
They got the D McCoy. I love that. That's good. But the big one, the fucking big one, the bomb. If fucking Dr. Tomas was here to drop this bomb, it'd be the atomic Dr. Tomas bombers. Fucking Jadeveon Clowney, the number 1 pick, goes to the Cleveland Browns to be opposite of the other number 1 pick, Myles Garrett. If he can stay healthy, which we all know is very tough, that Browns D-line, holy shit.
I agree. And here's the thing. Can we just talk about this for 1 second? So Dr. Tomas came, he said to you and me, he's high on the Browns this year. There's a lot of analysts on TV saying they're high on the Browns this year. They got him picked as a sleeper bowl. Or a sleeper bowl.
That's good. It actually fucking worked. That worked out.
A sleeper pick for the Super Bowl.
I'm keeping that in.
And what I'm like confused on, I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe I missed something, but was it me or did the whole world pick the Browns to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago? This should, to me, this isn't a shock. Like, the Browns have been good. In fact, they were the ultimate disappointment, not this year, but the year before. Yeah. I mean, we all thought they were going to be the super team. I thought the team that everyone's saying they're going to be this year, I thought they were going to be 2 years ago. And I should have known better, because it usually just doesn't work that way, where you just throw a bunch of stars together and they start playing together. I mean, look at Philadelphia when they had the quote-unquote dream team. But what I'm saying is, I don't know why everyone's acting like this is oh my god, the Browns they're here now. Like Clowney was that was the thing that convinced everybody.
I know, you're
that
right.
The guy who plays 4 games a year is the one
right.
is what convinced everyone.
You're right.
Not the fact that they had OBJ, Landry, they got a number 1 pick in the
Chubby.
draft. Nick Chubb, who's probably one of the best running backs in the league right now.
Yep.
None of that mattered.
Oh, I know. I mean, Kareem Hunt, is your second go-to guy.
To me, when they got Kareem Hunt, that's when it was done. That's when I was like, oh, okay,
unbelievable.
this is it.
But the thing about the Browns is, like you said, I think Clowney has got the same, like you just said about McCoy, right? Everyone's thinking about when fucking Clowney popped the helmet off of the Michigan running back in the bowl game before he got drafted number 1. He doesn't do that. He doesn't go number 1.
Yeah,
everyone's thinking about that, and they're thinking, "Holy shit, this is the Clowney we're supposed to get." That was years ago, years and years ago. This guy doesn't play like that anymore. Okay, and he's not available.
No, I agree, but I will say this: for the 3 to 6 games that he's going to play, the real thing that you need him for is all you need is to draw some attention away from Myles Garrett,
absolutely,
and make Myles Garrett more one-on-one with some people, and I think that's the biggest impact.
Yeah,
and that's huge.
Yeah, no, I agree. But again, you want to talk about the Cleveland Browns? Everything still rides with Baker Mayfield. Has to. That's where the team's going to go. He's not going to be. There's no more Trent Dilfers. There's no more Brad Johnsons. There's no more guys that are just not there to fuck it up. You have to win games. And
I agree, and I got 2 things, and one's going to segue us to the next one. The first one is this D-line is not only so great, it might be the D-line full of the most jerk-offs in NFL history. Clowney,
go through the list. I can't stand Myles
Richardson,
Garrett. Yes.
Myles Garrett with the helmet situation.
Oh my god!
I mean, Richardson's a jerk off. Who's the other 4th one? I'm forgetting. There's another stud on there. Oh, it used to be. You know who I was thinking of? It used to be Olivier Vernon.
Oh, Vernon. Yeah. He's gone.
Who's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But that was the other one I was thinking of.
Yep.
But I mean, this D-line, it's like a magnet for the jerk offs of the league.
I can't tell you how much I can't stand Myles Garrett and Odell Beckham, and they're both on the team.
And then that's my other thing is to help you with the segue is we got to agree on this. No matter how good I think Odell Beckham is, he's got to go. You got to trade him, right? You got to move him. He just doesn't fit in that team. For whatever reason, the chemistry is just not there. I think he just hates Cleveland.
The unbelievable thing of it is they actually had the stats when Baker has OBJ on the field and when he doesn't. They are astronomically opposite. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So they got to get rid of him because he's trying to force it to Odell because that's what Odell wants. He just wants the ball. And every once in a while, you have guys like him and Chad Johnson and T.O. You can't give him the ball every down, okay? And quarterbacks will crumble with guys like that, especially a guy like Mayfield who's already got a couple shortcomings as far as being shorter, not having the best arm in the world. He needs to read the defense and put it where it's got to be, not just let's force it in, So
and that's a major thing. That's a major thing. And I think honestly, I used to say the same thing about this is going to be a bad example because the Patriots with Tom Brady and Randy Moss, it's a bad example because they had, in my opinion, the greatest offense ever. That whatever year it was, 2000.
So it was 2007, 8. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Going forward and including in that Super Bowl, part of the problem with that team is. And the reason why they don't win as much when they have some stars on offense, in my opinion, is Brady gets in this mindset that he has to get the ball there. And then everyone just clouds around Moss or whoever it is. It's like when he's comfortable, like Gronk's a superstar, but Gronk grew up with Tom Brady. Gronk is comfortable with Tom Brady. When you bring someone into the mix, like a Randy Moss, it just makes it too hard to force him the ball. I mean, Chad Ocho was a fucking idiot. He couldn't even run the plays right. But I think that was also a problem with them. Like you think you got to get the ball to these superstars, and it kind of hinders the offense, in my opinion.
No, you're exactly right. Now Moss, set the record that year for receiving touchdowns, and Brady set the record for passing touchdowns that year. Randy Moss was just that damn good.
But that's why I said it's a bad example. But going forward is why they didn't continue to excel.
Sure,
I think.
Sure, and also Odell is not Moss, so you can't you can't force the ball into Odell Beckham like you would.
I also think that Moss thing happened that first year so much because Moss, a lot of people forget, everyone said he was done in Oakland. They said he was done. Yeah. So when he came to New England, it took a minute before people were like, oh, no, Moss ain't done. So once the next year came and everyone's like, all right, Moss is back on the map, then they started covering him properly and defenses were acting appropriately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, keying in on is the word I was looking for. And then you had Tom Brady trying to relive that year, forcing the ball to him, and it just didn't work. Where when he has a bunch of scrubs, he throws it around all over the field. You don't know where the fuck he's going.
Absolutely. And that segues perfectly into this guy who I believe is so damn underrated, and Julian Edelman. He retires. I really believe that he's not getting the love that he should get. Do I believe he's a Hall of Famer? It really depends. Like
I need an answer.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
I will tell you my opinion about this.
Over the years, the NFL draft coverage has changed with positions. It always used to be defensive end, defensive tackle. Over the past couple years, if you've noticed, they now go defensive line, edge. They've changed it. Okay, so they will put a bunch of players in this kind of D-line rotation, and they'll put a bunch of players in the edge rotation. I do not put Edelman. I really believe there's got to be a 2 separate wing piece of the Hall of Fame that says wide receivers and slots. Because I'm not taking fucking Wes Welker or Julian Edelman or some of these other unbelievable slot guys over these wide receivers, but I'm not taking any of those receivers over these guys in the slot.
I 100% agree with you to a degree, because this is a long-time argument I've had with Dr. Tomas about there being a number 1 receiver, a number 2 receiver, a number 3 receiver, and I kind of categorize it as usually the number 3 guy is usually your slot receiver, and that's a whole different category.
Absolutely.
And I usually say the number 1 receiver because the 1 can almost be put in any of the spots. It could basically be moved anywhere and do everything. The only 1 or 2 guys who are outliers that are still number 1 receivers are like the Randy Mosses, because they were one-trick ponies, but they did that trick so fucking good it didn't matter. So I agree with you. You can break it down to multiple categories for wide receiver. Let's say there is a slot receiver category for the Hall of Fame. Now is he going in there?
Absolutely. He's number 1. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in the slot. Tell me a guy in the slot you'd rather have than Edelman.
Wes Welker.
No way.
Have you looked at these numbers?
Dude, it's not the numbers. It's
Oh, it's not the numbers.
No,
it's not the production.
As far as what has he done in the biggest stage? What has he done in the best stage? I mean, did Wes Welker win a Super Bowl MVP? No. So Edelman, to me, is a guy who does the dirty work. And I'm not saying Welker didn't. I mean, they both kind of did the same shit as far as punt returning. A slot guy. Edelman is in the Hall of Fame of slots. So is Welker, but I'd take Edelman over Welker. I guess it's a personal preference, but to me, I like the guys in the big games.
I agree that the level of clutch factor and game competitiveness definitely factors in. I'm not disagreeing with you there, but that can't be the only thing we're relying on. Otherwise, there's a lot of guys that have been clutch that if that's the case, then you can never argue to me about Eli Manning not being in the Hall of Fame, because if that's the case, Eli Manning is a first ballot Hall of Famer to you as well. Because Eli Manning balled in the last 4 minutes.
I hate to admit this. I've never come out and said that Eli Manning's not a Hall of Famer.
You're out of your mind.
I'm not. He is a Hall of Famer.
He's going to make the Hall of Fame because of his last name and because he won 2 Super Bowls and because he beat Tom Brady. I agree with you. But anyone that thinks that's a legitimate reason to put him in the Hall of Fame is out of their fucking tits. That is not a legitimate. The guy was trash for 90% of his career. He has 2 seasons, and it's not even like he was unbelievable those 2 seasons. Actually, I'll give him 3 seasons, because he actually had 1 season that I don't even remember if they made the playoffs or not, but he had 1 season that he actually played very well. But the 2 runs he had, he didn't even play that great during the season.
Here's another thing, though.
The playoffs.
It's numbers. There's numbers, yes. There's 2 bigger things, in my opinion, that count for Hall of Fame ballots and Hall of Fame, to have a vision of a person in the Hall of Fame. It's longevity.
Agreed.
And it's what you did in under the big stage, under the big lights. This guy did it twice.
Longevity and consistency of that at a high level, correct?
But he did it twice. I mean, the guy won 2 Super Bowls. You got to say, okay, the fucking one guy caught the ball off his head, and the one guy, and Manningham caught it from like it was a beacon of light from God, on the sideline. But at the same time, even though as much as I want to talk shit about Eli, he still had to make that throw to Burris in the fucking end zone to win the game. He still had to drive them down the field
to win it.
You know
open throw in the end zone?
I understand they put fucking one guy. Don't get me started with that bullshit.
God.
But I'm just saying, if you want to say, Hall of Fame or not, guy's got 2 Super Bowls and he's been in the league for so long. He came up in the clutch in the big game.
You got to play at a consistent high level for so long. You can't just be in the league for so long.
Let's do this, Scotty. Let's save that for episode 11. Let's go into that. I do, because I want to crunch the numbers. I want to see comparatively who's in the Hall of Fame, who's not. Let's do that. let's go into that in the next episode.
Okay. Well, my whole thing with Julian Edelman, since we're not going to get into Hall of Famers just yet, you look at the numbers. At first glance, I say, okay, this guy's got what, 3 Super Bowls? He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He's got a Super Bowl MVP. He's been playing well for an extended period of time. First off, really hasn't been playing that long, dude.
No.
I mean, of years, not of like actual receiving years, like not playing special teams, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not bad, but 7 years. And don't get me wrong, that's Hall of Fame worthy. If you're balling for 7 years, I think that's enough. But was he really balling? He had 3 years of those 7. He went over 1,000 yards. That's it. That's fucking routine in this league. Now I get
How many catches?
He's
How many catches in those years?
How many catches?
Yeah.
He had 105 in 1 year, and he had 100 in 2019. 105 in what year was this? 2013, and 100 in 2019.
Yeah. Other than that, though, he's pretty high, right?
He's got 92, 61, 98, 74, and then this past year was 21.
Yeah, he got hurt.
I think he got hurt this year.
But 98 and 90 something else. I mean, those are 100 catches basically. So that's a good stat fucking line for 7 years.
Okay. But
especially
also, let me throw in this nugget. He also had Tom Brady for 98% of his career.
Oh, well, I mean, of course, but we can say that about Welker or anybody else.
Well, Welker had Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady, but he also played on the Dolphins, where he still played well. Let's look at this. He's got
let me ask you this
3,
real quick.
4, 5 or 6 seasons over 1,000, including one he hit 1354. He had a 1,569 yard season, and his receptions, he went over 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I mean, that's incredible, dude.
No, Welker's great. I'm not saying Welker's not a Hall of Famer either. I'm just saying I'd take Edelman. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying they're both Hall of Famers. I'd just take Edelman. I liked what he did in the big games. I didn't get to see Welker in a big game. So let me ask you this question though: you think Calvin Johnson's a Hall of Famer?
100%.
Okay, he only played 9 seasons. So I mean, it's not.
I said sevens. I said sevens.
I mean, I don't think that's a big difference between somebody who's a Hall of Famer or not. I don't.
No,
think
but
you can play 4.
Calvin Johnson's numbers are a lot better in 9 seasons than Julian Edelman's was in
but
7
he's
seasons.
he's
Now
also
different positions. I get that.
Yes.
I get that.
Yes.
But who's like we have to think of who's another slot. Like look at like a Steve Smith. What's Steve Smith's
He
numbers?
was an outside guy mostly. I mean, honestly,
I'm going to tell you who the Godfather is, and they've called him that. That's why I'm calling him the Godfather. Fucking my homeboy Wayne Corbett was fucking slot guy who just went over the middle and caught everything for fucking got his head crushed in.
Yeah, never wore a pair of gloves either. That's unbelievable. No, I'm with you. Like I said, let's go into the Hall of Fame talk at some other point because there's a bunch of guys that we can, I mean, I just heard George Kittle was said that he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. It's like, let's pump the brakes, but so let's go into that later. And I love Kittle, but here's the thing: you have said many times to me that you believe that wide receivers. You always say that quarterbacks are such pussies in their heads and all that stuff. But you've also said that receivers are huge divas. I don't agree, and I'd have to give you the list of just even probably the top, whatever this is, 13 or 15 guys in the top probably 50 of all time, and I would have to hopefully imagine you'd agree that they're not divas. Do you want to hear them, or do you want to give your argument first?
My argument is you're fucking crazy. I don't know how this is even a topic. Before you even give your list, I'm going to give the list I previously gave to you because I know these guys are going to be on there, and I don't want you to come at me like I didn't know this.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Larry Fitzgerald, Julio Jones, and Calvin Johnson. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I'll put on another one I just thought of, Houston boy.
Andre Johnson.
From fucking Andre Johnson.
Okay. So that still leaves 7 on my list.
I can't wait to hear them.
Now, would you say Wes Welker is a diva?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, God. Would you say Isaac Bruce was a diva? Would you say Marvin Harrison was a diva? Would you say Hines Ward was a diva?
Hines Ward was one of the biggest divas. You a trash talker.
You hated Hines Ward, but
I don't
say he was a diva though.
Talker.
Tim Brown.
So was Wes Welker. Wes Welker came on and fucking did a whole interview about fucking Rex Ryan and his foot fetish.
Let me ask.
Remember that?
But hold on. Let me give you 3 more. You got Tim Brown. You got Chris Carter. You got Jerry Rice. Here's the thing.
Jerry Rice is considered one of the biggest divas of all time. Look it up. It's just different media.
No, but
it's
let me just try to describe to you my definition of diva. When I think diva, I think T.O., I think Chad Johnson, I think Oakland Randy Moss,
You're thinking of the
I
extremes
think
of
Odell
it.
Beckham. I I even think at some point Jarvis Landry. There's that's not these guys that we just mentioned. Team Obliterator was the fucking nickname for Terrell Owens.
There's different levels of diva. There's some divas that will destroy a team. There's other divas that guys vibe around, and there's other like okay, for instance, let me give you an example here.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Sherman, mega diva. But when he was in Seattle, they thrived around it. He didn't destroy the team. Maybe later when they had the issue with the whole thing. But because of his personality and the way he modeled it, he actually was one of the lightning rods to fueling that entire defense.
But
he's a fucking diva.
Absolutely diva. But here's the thing: we're not talking about corners. We're talking about receivers.
I'm just making the example of how you don't have to be a bad. There's divas that can motivate, and there's divas that can destroy the team.
So you're saying that maybe that was, in your opinion, a Rice or a Welker?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
To me, that's not a diva. Wide receiver divas. We're talking about guys who will
destroy
put themselves before everybody else, and that destroys your team. And that is why I think OBJ, T.O., Randy Moss in Oakland, Ocho Cinco. I mean, come on. All these Ocho Cinco was the biggest fucking look at me and fuck all you guys receiver in the past 20 years. It's unbelievable. And T.O., of course,
there was a ton of them. Michael Irving was one, dude. I mean,
that whole team, that whole team.
Michael Irving was one.
If Aikman and Emmett weren't there to kind of corral all those guys together, you want to talk about TMZ would have loved the Dallas Cowboys in 1990s.
I mean, I thought Steve Smith was one. I thought Brandon Marshall was one. I thought
Brandon Marshall's another one. He's another one.
Brandon Marshall was one. Yep. Keyshawn Johnson was one.
Oh, Keyshawn Johnson, give me a break. That's right.
You name any,
but that's what we're
receiver,
talking about. We ain't talking about
the
these guys. We ain't talking about these guys that we mentioned today that aren't. It's just there's two separate things. Now, I did some research. Dr. Tomas came out with us, and he dropped an article on us that basically someone came out and said, "Hey, here's the past 10 years." Worth of NFL draft, the top 15 receivers over the past 10 years, and there was 15 of them. In the past 10 years, there's 15 guys drafted in the top 15 for wide receivers. And if you counted them out of the 15, only 5 of them worked out. So that's 33%. A third of the guys work out. So, the article talks about how they were overdrafted, and how maybe drafting a receiver in the top 15 is a huge fucking mistake, and how, oh my God, like maybe they shouldn't do it. There's going to maybe be 3 guys this year in the top 15. And I mean, I don't know how you feel. They're just fucking up when they pick. It has nothing to do with receivers. It has nothing to do with the guys. The position itself. It has everything to do with the guys they take. I mean, do you want me to give you examples?
Yeah, give me examples, because I get what you're saying, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why these guys that always turn out to be busts are rated so much higher than the guys that seem to have question marks that turn out to be better. Is it like a chip on the shoulder thing? I don't know what it is. It could be.
Let's try to figure it out. Let's try to figure it out.
In my defense, if they are mostly divas, it could be like an ego thing to where if you pump the ego too much, they go into the NFL being like, I'm already the shit, whatever.
Yeah.
Where if you kind of humble them a little bit and drop them in the second or third round, they're like, oh no, I'm working this up and showing you I'm the boss. Because, I mean, that kind of, to add another thing to a diva who's becoming a diva and wasn't, is Saints wide receiver.
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas.
And there's another one on this list, too, I forgot about. I think Stephon Diggs is a diva. He's on this list as well.
100%.
Okay, so okay, I completely get you with that. Now, there's a couple drafts over the past 10 years. There's a couple drafts that actually the same receiver that was drafted in the first round, but later should have been the one that was taken in the top 15, so it would cancel that out. But a lot of these other drafts have guys that were taken in the other rounds that easily top 15 talents. And you'll agree with me. You want to start with the newer drafts, or you want to go back to 2012, 2013 area?
Let's start with the older and go up.
All right. So 2012, man, what a shitty draft for receivers in the first round. You remember Justin Blackmon? He got drafted fifth.
What a fucking joke that guy was.
What a bust. Michael Floyd, another kind of, middle of the road player.
He wasn't as bad as you allude to, but he was not worth where he was taken.
He was taken 13th. Kendall Wright for Tennessee, solid player, super solid, not 20th. He was not, especially when I give you these other 2 guys. And A.J. Jenkins, who the hell is that? Okay,
I don't know.
All right, he got drafted for the Niners. I think he was out of the league in 2 years. These 2 other guys, one that was drafted in the second round, Alshon Jeffrey, And in the third round, T.Y. Hilton. You're going to tell me those guys weren't worth top 15 picks?
Yeah.
In their careers? Okay. Now we go to 2013. This is the draft that we always talked about with Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin went 8th. DeAndre Hopkins went 27th. Well, you put Hopkins, I'd take him 8th all day, every day. Okay? And then the other two guys that could have been in the top 15, would you like a guy, Robert Woods?
Yes.
Do you like Keenan Allen?
Yes.
Those guys got drafted in the second and third round. Ridiculous. Next year, holy shit, Sammy Boy Watkins. He got drafted 4th, and he only plays 4 games a year. He got drafted 4th. Now, Mike Evans and OBJ got drafted 7th and 12th, respectively. So I think they fit in the top 15.
Yeah, I think they're good.
But guess who else got drafted in the second round?
They're good in those spots.
Devontae fucking Adams? How about Allen Robinson? How about Jarvis Landry? All in the second round. And you got Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cooks, and Kelvin Benjamin in the first round. Give me a fucking break, right?
Kelvin Benjamin, what a fucking bust.
Holy shit. Next year, you want to talk about the Stephon Diggs draft, 2015. He was taken in the 5th round. He's a fucking all-pro. He's the biggest diva this year because he deserves it. And Tyler Lockett was taken in the 3rd round. You had Amari Cooper in the 1st round, 4th pick. Kevin White, unbelievable talent in West Virginia, but he just couldn't kick the injury bug. He got taken at 7th. And Devontae Parker was at 14th. I think I'd take Stephon Diggs in the top 15, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So next year, only one receiver in the top 15. Oh, what a stretch. Corey Coleman was taken 15th by the Cleveland Browns. You know who people missed out on in the 2nd round and then in the 5th round? Michael Thomas and Tyreek Hill. How do you think that fucking turned out?
They were okay.
Okay. Now, next year, 2017, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross go 5, 7, 9 in the 1st round. You know who Tennessee and the Chargers and the Bengals missed out on that year? Juju Smith-Schuster, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay. Would you take any of those guys in the top 15?
Probably, yeah.
Thank you. And 2018 and 2019 were the only drafts that didn't have a receiver in the top 15, okay? DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley went 24 and 26 in 2018, 100% hit. 2019, 2 busts, Hollywood Brown and N'Keal Harry. You know who Baltimore and New England missed out on with those drafts? A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf.
Damn.
Okay? And one more. Last year, you're going to tell me that you wouldn't have taken Justin Jefferson over Henry Ruggs at number 12?
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
So,
with that.
okay, so this is what it is. I'm sorry, everybody, I had to bore you with all those fucking stats again. To me, it's interesting because stop talking about the guys. You know who the guys are that fucked up? The fuckers in the suits in the fucking front office. That's who fucks up.
Do you think that the situation that these receivers are put in also is a huge factor as well? And then also, do you think that this made me think of it too with Tyreek Hill, because we all know he had some.
Well, he had
crazy
some
shit
issues. Yes,
but
Michael Thomas, give me a fucking break.
Well, my point is, do you think maybe some of these guys that slipped might have had things that we're unaware of that the NFL was able to kind of dig up on their research?
Let me, and I will say that, and I will say injuries, but first I will get to what you just said. Yes, I think with a guy like Tyreek Hill, I believe that's the case. I believe I remember that was the case with Keenan Allen. I think I remember.
The funny thing is I was going to bring up Keenan Allen just because I know from living in San Diego, I'm not ratting anybody out, but I've seen him do some things I probably wouldn't want him to do before a football game.
That's I think
just saying,
I get that,
and that's in the pros. I couldn't imagine what he was doing in college.
But you got to imagine. I mean, this guy's been in the league now for 9 years. I mean, the shit that he's doing, and then to be so good for so long, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But no, I get that. But you're telling me Hopkins went 27th and Tavon went 8th? Give me a fucking break.
No, I agree.
But no, some of these guys I believe it's like a Corey Davis. I think is a perfect example. I think if you drafted him 5th, holy shit, from Western Michigan, wow, it was a shock at the time. He was in the wrong spot. But you got guys like Mike Williams, you got guys like Kevin White.
If Devontae Adams was drafted by the Jets that year, I'm not sure we'd be talking about, oh my God, how did every team miss on this guy?
Well, I think there's the injuries, like I said, with Williams and with Kevin White. I think they just couldn't. They're not shaking their injuries. Kevin White was really bad; he just couldn't play. With the injuries he had. Mike Williams has got a bunch of back stuff and whatever. But no, I think some of these guys are generational, bro. I don't think it matters. The guy, we all knew Henry Ruggs. We all knew and John Ross, we all knew they were straight line guys, and they're small. Okay, you put them on any team, it doesn't matter. They're not going to work out.
Can you explain that to me? What is with the NFL's infatuation with the speed? These guys that can't catch, they literally have taken guys out of the Olympics and been like, oh, yeah, you're going to be a great football player. It's like the guy can't run a route.
Yeah.
The guy can't take a hit. The guy can't catch a ball. What makes you think he's going to be a good player? Then you got these other guys that are slower, but they can take hits. They can block. They can run routes like nobody else. They get separation. They can catch a fucking anything.
Just like I talked about when I went off on the pro day in one of our first episodes.
Yeah, I know. I just don't get it.
It's unbelievable how these guys don't watch tape. It's all about let's see how fast they run. I don't give a shit that they were born like Nelson Aguilar with 4 feet. No, he can run fast. Who gives a shit? Can he catch the ball?
This isn't even like a new thing, though. This is like been going on. So it's like
I told you, it's not going to stop.
If you look at the data, it's like you look at the guys who ran straight lines like the Randy Mosses. It's like Randy Moss and who else? Like, honestly, in the last like 20, 30 years, how many guys that ran straight lines were so unreal that were life-changing?
There's one guy.
85% of them were busts.
There's one guy currently, but he can't stay healthy. It's Will Fuller. Anytime Will Fuller's on the field,
I agree.
It's unbelievable. But he's the only guy I can think of that runs past guys consistently.
I honestly think Hollywood Brown could be that kind of guy, too, if he had a quarterback that can
throw
more than 20 yards.
He's too small. and with Lamar, you're not going to do it. But he to me is too small. They missed out on A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, those two teams. I can't believe it.
There's a couple guys, but what I'm saying is when you line up the analytics, the amount of guys that don't work out that run that way and are wide receivers that are more burners opposed to the ones who are either slot or like the guys who can do it all, it's like it's got to be a crazy astronomical difference. I don't know why it hasn't been shifted to go away from the burners. The burners should be taken in like the second to fourth round.
It's sexy, Scott. It's Scotty boy. It's sexy. They're not gonna. It's just it's just sexy. It's not gonna go away. It's too attractive to teams. They know this is bad. They know this is bad, but I love it. It's so sexy. You got to go get it. That's the problem. They don't have any fucking self-control with these guys.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So it's to me, let's not shit on the receivers and let's please try, guys in the front office. Can you please learn from people's mistakes in the past and actually do your due diligence with the scouting and just say, hey, I don't want to take a guy just because he runs so damn fast. Watch the tape. Does that get us to our titillating? Oh, I said titillating. Top 5 studs remaining in our draft. So, without further ado, we dropped our mock drafts. Scotty has his. I have mine. We both have 5 guys at the top of our board waiting to be taken in the second round. Steals some of these guys, and some of these guys I believe can sneak into the first round. Absolutely. But without further ado, I'll start off. My first stud that's remaining in my mock draft is Azeez Ojulari.
Azeez.
Redshirt sophomore who's going to drape his nuts on every quarterback he sacks. I'm going to tell you guys what. I really believe that this guy is going to hit the first round. I have to figure out what team he's going to go to. The more and more I watch this kid, I like him even more. I've delved into the tape with him. This kid is going to blow a guy like Jason away. He's going to blow a guy like Jalen Phillips off the board in the first round.
Not Kwity Paye, though. He's going to be taken like 3rd overall.
Kwity Paye, I think, to me, is the closest competition in the draft in the ends with these two guys, with the edge rushers. So, Ojulari, I should have him in my first round. If we do a mock draft 2.0, he's going to be in the first round. But he's a fucking stud.
My first guy is a guy I got a lot of criticism from Dr. Tomas for slipping out of my first round. And I'll go back into him. Dr. Tomas's homeboy, Caleb Farley.
He's obsessed.
Cornerback over out of Virginia Tech.
Yeah, he's obsessed with him.
A couple things. I've been looking at him. I've been watching some film on him or some highlights on him. Kind of doing some research on him more and more just because I was like, maybe I missed something. Dr. Tomas really came down hard on me with all this bullshit. So I looked at it, and I'm sticking to my guns on this, man. I mean, I do agree. He's got definitely – I understand he's coming from a quarterback, and now he's just transitioning to corner in the last few years or so. So it's very impressive what he's able to do. And from my understanding, he's gotten much better at recognizing different routes and offensive patterns and whatnot. I mean, he's a big body. He's great in press coverage. And, I mean, he's just impressive for
he's
lack
transitioning.
of time. He's transitioning.
He's transitioning.
He's just impressive. He seems to naturally, physically have what it takes to to compete at the position and successfully be a great corner in the league. I agree with that. But the issue is he still also needs improvement on his fundamentals because of his lack of experience in this position. I mean, he seems to almost like play a little reactive instead of proactive. Like he's not instinctive enough for me. Like he gets beat sometimes. You know what I mean?
And that could be just because he's new. Yeah.
But the reason I have him high on this and still in the second round is because of his his ceiling might be through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
This guy, because I'm saying all this about him, and I don't think he has the fundamentals down yet. I think he's still learning. I think he's still trying to understand how to play a corner the proper way. I think he's a physical freak, and he's a gifted athlete, and he's a football player.
Yeah.
And he's kind of figuring it out as he goes. And the more time this guy has, the better he can be. And I could see a team bringing him in and working with him, getting him the right pieces around him, or the right coaching around him is what I mean. And he kind of excels to take that next level, and he could be one of the top corners in the league.
In your mock draft, if he can go 34 to the Jets, hello.
My one other issue too is I want to bring up is what I noticed. He's not the greatest tackler, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I understand, but show me a corner nowadays that can fucking tackle. I mean, you can count them on one hand. But
I agree, but I do like the guys who can tackle.
But in my mock draft, the reason why I had him going to Tennessee, just imagine if Mike Vrabel gets his hands on this guy.
Agreed.
So hello. All right, number 2 for me. We both love him. My
give you
guy
my list.
is Kyle Trask.
Oh yeah, Kyle Trask is my first round mock.
Kyle Trask, redshirt senior. To me, I know we both love him. You got him in the first round. 6'5", 245. You watch tape of Florida just because of Pitts and even Tony, and this guy throws. It's unbelievable watching Trask throw the ball. I think he's a taller and bigger Matt Ryan. I really believe that he's going to succeed. The only thing that he needs one thing and one thing only. He needs the right team. He needs the right team. This guy is not going to be a franchise savior, okay? He needs players. So he's got to go to the right team, preferably. I mean, could you imagine this guy going to the Buccaneers? Like, maybe 32nd, someone trading in for him.
You keep saying that. I don't like that.
Or if he comes.
Unless it's to piss off Brady. But
or if he's Atlanta, in the second round. I know you got Atlanta taking him in the first.
How about this? And I know this is not going to happen because they already got 2 guys there right now with weird deals. But what if he ends up in New Orleans?
I mean, you kidding me? I mean, New Orleans with Sean Payton and then all the talent they got
would fucking take this guy to the moon.
Come on, so I'm with you. We love him. It's just he's got to be at the right team. If he goes to some shit show, he's not the right guy. I want to hear your number 2.
My number 2 I got is Terrace Marshall, the LSU receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have him in my first round mock. I know a lot of people did. He's a big body guy, man. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. This guy averaged over 104 yards per game this last season, which is great. He's great at separating. He's great at tracking the ball down. I mean, it's one of his biggest pros about him. He seems to be ready for the league, and the problem is, though, he's got a lot of bonehead, drops and, stupid, doesn't finish routes all the time and stuff like that. But the reason why I think he's still valuable, I mean, it's definitely a red flag. The reason why I think he's still valuable is because we've seen this before. A lot of guys like that, what happens is they get in the mind, I'm ready for the league. I'm ready to go to the NFL.
Yeah,
board. They kind of take time off. They work more on their body or other shit, or they got other things going on, and they're not as focused on the college career. And honestly, LSU, after winning last year, I mean, it's you already did everything you really wanted to do there. So I can see him losing a lot of focus.
Yeah, it wasn't getting any better.
COVID.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The only thing that pisses me off with that is the fact that you got to play to advance your career. At that point, if you're at least think about yourself and say fuck the team, at least still play the best you can. But
yeah, but you know how these guys are. They're very focused on themselves.
I think I got him in the first round going to Carolina because they trade back. If Carolina doesn't trade back, I really can see him going to Carolina in the second round. I really think Brady is the guy. Joe Brady's going to bring him in. I really believe it. I feel it. All right, number 3, you want to talk about watching Trask tape. Kadarius Toney. The more and more I watch this kid.
I was going to put him on mine, by the way.
I really believe he can sneak into the first.
I agree. And go ahead. You want to say anything else about him?
Well, here's the thing. He's a senior, so he's seasoned. He's there. He's 6 foot tall. I believe he's a taller, shiftier, but slightly less straight line fast Tyreek Hill.
And this kid's numbers blew the fuck up from his last year to this year. It was a huge jump. And I don't know if that's Trask or if that's him or if that, I don't know who's making who look better or if they're both just elevating. It's very interesting what's going on.
It's Dan Mullen kind of trusting the guy more. But also, you got to think too. You know how many weapons that Florida had? I mean, forget about
I know.
Tony. You got
I know.
Pitts and I forget the other kid on the other side.
But again, is that Trask making everybody look good, or is that them making Trask look good? I
think
don't know. We
you
won't know.
If you watch the highlights, it's a little bit of both. Tony ran a 4.39. Tyreek ran a 4.29. So it's a tenth of a second slower. But dude, he's way shiftier. You think Tyreek shifty? This kid he's doing basketball moves on a football field. So I really think whoever gets him, you want to talk about fit? I would hope to God he doesn't go somewhere like a Baltimore or somewhere where the quarterback just does not throw the ball down the field. So he's got to go somewhere.
I hope no wide receiver ever goes to Baltimore right now.
It's just the scheme, and Lamar's really got to make a huge jump this year. I really believe it, and if he doesn't, I believe his career is already now on the downhill. But what's your number 3?
My number 3, I have Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State,
stud
cornerback. He's a stud. I honestly, in my mock, I have some crazy things happening. I have the Saints trading out with Atlanta coming back from the second round back into the first round. I really believe that if New Orleans stays there, that's a possible place for him to go in the first round. I could really see him going to a team like that late in the first round, but I think he'll be a great pickup in the second round. I mean, he's a stud, man. I mean, this guy,
he's a ball hawk. He plays the ball.
So exactly, and he's got great footwork. He's a physical body. He's not really big. He's not like a big guy, but he's built.
Yeah, he's like his dad.
He's yoked up, and he's fundamentally great. The only issue is, kind of like his dad. He likes to jump routes. He likes to try to be a ball hawk, and because of that, he gets himself in a lot of trouble. Yeah. He gets a lot of penalties. This guy,
and that's exactly what his dad did.
A lot of pass interference, which could be an issue, especially the way the game is going. They're getting so fucking flag happy in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think that's something you can clean up. And I mean, ball hawks are becoming extinct these days. I mean, how many guys really get a lot of interceptions anymore? It's not a known thing.
I know.
So if he can come into the league and do what he's been doing in college, I think he can be a top corner.
Yeah, I agree. I really believe, honestly, there's a great chance that if Farley, I know it just came out that Farley's came back fine, but I really believe, talking about, I had him going to Tampa Bay last pick of the first round because of Brady. Who else did Asante Samuel play with? Mike Vrabel. I can see Asante Samuel going to Tennessee.
I didn't even think about that.
But in your draft, like you said, you left
we all say this. We all say this. How do we know Asante Samuel and these guys didn't fucking hate each other?
Maybe they fucking hated him. Yeah, I know.
They're like, fuck that
We'll
guy.
see if we know what we're talking about. Number 4, a guy that you had in the first round. I really believe that he's going to be the first pick in the second round. Pat Freiermuth from Penn State, junior, 6'5", tight end. Old school mentality with new school skills. That's the only thing I can say about this guy. People are calling him Baby Gronk. I think that's bullshit. But this kid can play. There's a good lineage of tight ends that come from Penn State, especially Mike Gesicki now in the league with the Dolphins. I think Jacksonville at 33 picks up their tight end in the first pick of the second round.
Yeah, that's a good it's a good idea. I will say this: my next 2 picks for this titillating top 5, I didn't really necessarily. I'm not really believing that these guys are really going to go second round. I could see them going third or fourth round.
It doesn't matter.
I just kind of wanted to have some fun with this, so I got some other guys that I thought were interesting that I thought could be steals in the draft. So my next guy I got is actually Chuba Hubbard. I hope I said it.
Chuba, yeah.
So running back from Oklahoma State.
Yep.
I love this kid. I mean, I've actually watched this kid quite a bit, and he's a stud, man. The last 2 years, I mean, this past year he only played 7 games. He had 625 yards. He only had like 5 touchdowns. But people forget the year before that, this kid had 2,000 yards rushing, 21 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid went off. The only problem with this guy, one, he's already got a little mileage on him, which is a little bit of a problem. The only other issue with this kid is he seems to like. So one of the things I love about Zeke Elliott is when he hits the line, he falls forward always.
Yeah.
He always falls forward. The thing I hated about like a Sean Green on the Jets, I fucking hated Sean Green. And the reason why I hated it is because he'd hit the pile and he'd go backwards every time. Didn't matter. This is what this kid does though. He needs to get more lower body weight. He's not a small like build. I think he's like 6 foot, like 210 or something like that, which isn't like super small. Like that's a decent sized build. But he doesn't have it in his lower legs like a Saquon or something. He needs to bulk up a little bit more and get more like that leg burst and kind of be able to fall forward, because I feel like even though he's got good vision and everything like that, whenever he tries to go through a pile, he never comes out the other end.
He's a straight up and down guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to fix that a little bit in the NFL, because these guys are only going to get bigger and harder and stronger, and he needs to be able to kind of get a little bit more muscle mass and a little more weight on him. But outside of that, I think that's, to me, a thing you can work on. You get a trainer. That's something that people don't think about in college as much.
And there's nothing better, believe me, than getting bigger, harder, and stronger. But but yes, I think you're right. I mean, like Dr. Tomas said in the last episode about mileage, about ETN. Hubbard's got a lot of mileage. The only thing I wonder about him, I don't really take too much stock in the mileage thing because he hasn't been hurt. But the big thing I worry about is the Big 12. I think if these guys,
the weak competition.
I really can't think of anybody except DeMarco Murray and Adrian Peterson that have really come out from the Big 12, and you're like, holy shit, this guy's a legitimate running back. So
I get that. I get that, but you also got to take into account that his quarterback was a guy named Spencer Sanders this year. So there's also like no other.
They're keying in on him,
yeah. It's not like you had a Justin Fields or a Zach Wilson or somebody that everyone's like, oh, we got to watch out for this air raid attack or these throws.
No, I agree.
They were in the box.
Yeah, I think he could be a stud in the later rounds, and I like that you're having fun with it. Because believe me, I mean, if I really wanted to have crazy fun with this too, I would go with fucking Hufanga from fucking USC. I think that kid's gonna be a stud.
Yeah, I mean, you can. And the only reason why I didn't, because my next two picks probably would have been your dude from Florida, who you just named,
Tony, yep,
and like an offensive lineman. I would have picked an offensive lineman.
Yep.
And it's like, fuck. No offense, big boys. No offense, big boys. But no, outside of the top three offensive linemen, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, O-line is just so boring. Even though it's so important.
I enjoy it for my team, and I enjoy it because I understand it. But the common person, the common fan doesn't know or care what the fuck offensive line.
Well, it's tough to parlay to people what the offensive line intricacies are.
Yeah.
And make them fucking exciting. You just can't do it. Now, two linebackers. One of the linebackers will be off this list because I believe now he goes in the first round. Zaven Collins, I believe you had him in your first round.
Yeah, you didn't have him in your first?
I did not. I believe he's now going to be in the first round of Cleveland Browns at 26 because I think now the Browns don't take Jalen Phillips, the edge from Miami. Jalen Phillips bumps out of the first round, and I think Zaven Collins fits right in with Cleveland at 26. He's a 6'5" junior linebacker. He can play any position at linebacker. He's a playmaker, and the only thing that scares me with this fucking guy is he did not play any competition. Did he play an offensive line that was legitimate? No. Did he play receivers and tight ends and running backs that were legitimate? No. So that's what worries me about that guy, but I'm going to put him in the first round because I really think he's got Patriots written all over him. I just think he won't be there for them later.
I can see that.
So Cleveland will take him because they are desperate for an outside linebacker, and I think he fits perfect. The guy that puts himself in the top 5 for me now is a guy from Kentucky. Over here, Jamin Davis, linebacker, middle linebacker. He's a junior as well, 6'3". Guys are starting to say that this guy has bumped himself into the first round with the pro day that he had. He had a 4.3 4.40. Problem with him is even though he played SEC competition, which I love, he only has 11 starts. He only played 11 games.
In his whole career.
In his whole career. So the only thing, and he's a junior, so the only thing that worries me about that is it's like, do you have enough tape, and are you going to get picked because you ran a fast 40? From the tape I've watched, it doesn't show on tape. 4.34 does not show. Zaven Collins ran a 4.6. Zaven Collins looks much faster on tape to me. So that's why I don't believe in the pro days. But Jamin Davis will tackle everything. He's got ball skills. He can pick balls off. And he played against SEC, so he's in there.
That could be a good fit for like a team like, for instance, like the Colts or something.
Green Bay.
A team that's already, or Green Bay.
Yeah.
No, well, not even as much Green Bay. I mean a team that's already stacked on defense, and you're just building depth.
Gotcha.
And then you got some guys coming up. Like Colts right now are phenomenal defense.
With Leonard, yeah.
You get. Let's say in 2 years you got to pay Leonard, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, we can't pay this other guy, but we got this kid we drafted 2 years ago who's coming up, and he's starting to take strides. He's on his rookie deal still. Yeah. Let's cut the other guy and bump this kid up.
And even another thing like a guy like Baltimore who plays 2 linebackers in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Baltimore would be another great example. Yeah. And this is what good franchises, well-ran franchises do. Yeah. So please, Woody Johnson, start listening to our fucking podcast.
Joey D. Please don't be like John Idzik or Mike McCagnon or Mike Tannenbaum. Ay. All right, what's your number 5?
By the way, I really shouldn't even go into this because this is COVID related and whatnot, and you can cut it out if you want.
Let's see.
I just had to tell you that the other day, me and my girl were discussing on when or if we should get the vaccine and what kind of vaccine we should get. Oh, boy.
Yep.
And when we were going over the 3 options, she brought up the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine. And she was like a little nervous because it's one shot. And I said, babe, what are you worried about? I mean, it's owned by, it's ran by Johnson & Johnson. I mean, it's a great company. I mean, look how well they run the Jets. I'm sure they run the company.
She's like, where's the Pfizer one?
I'm like, I'm sure they don't cut any corners. She goes, well, definitely not taking that shot now.
Oh, man. Hey, CVS or Walgreens, give me the Pfizer one, please, if you don't mind. Oh, my God. Yeah,
anything not jet
perfect.
related. Anything not jet related.
Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, I'll show you some Johnson & Johnson. That's hilarious, and we're keeping that in. All right, what's number 5?
All right, number 5, another one I'm going to have some fun with because I don't think that he's actually going to go in the second round is your boy Kellen Mond, the quarterback out of Texas A&M.
Yeah,
I think he's like a 4th rounder.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
You 4th rounder, right?
No, I'm just saying I don't like Mond. I don't think he's going to translate. But go ahead.
Okay, I'm just looking for another quarterback to come off the board, man. I mean, who do you think the next top quarterback is?
I think it's Davis Mills from Stanford.
Oh my God! You fell into my trap here. You fell right into it. Look, I don't have it in front of me to show you.
Yep.
But I was literally writing down what I wanted to talk about, and
yep.
I literally wrote Davis Mills ?
Oh yeah.
And the reason, and here's the reason.
Yep. This is phenomenal.
I don't even need to get into Kellen Mond anymore because the whole point was to transition to Davis Mills. Is my whole point because everyone is talking about Davis Mills. They're sucking this guy off. He's climbing the draft.
He's the top recruit coming out of high school.
If anyone's noticed, this guy hasn't done a fucking thing.
Who plays at Stanford? Who?
He hasn't done a thing, dude. Why am I impressed? Why am I impressed with 65% completion percentage, 1,960 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions? That's almost half the interceptions and touchdowns.
How many times did he throw the ball?
So 2019, he's 65% completion percentage,
yep.
1,960 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's literally half as many interceptions as he had touchdowns. I mean, half a fucking interception away from being completely half. I mean, that's not very good. It's only 8 games, and then 2020. He only played 5 games. His completion percentage went up 1 point to like 66%, and he got 1,500 yards, so he did less yards. I get it. He did 3 less games, but 7 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Almost the exact same stats. So he's consistently mediocre at best.
Yeah, I would say that Stanford is not a generally we're throwing the ball a ton like the rest of these guys are, number one. Number two, I love the 66% completion percentage. I mean, you know, Josh Allen was throwing 59% in college, okay? So, you know, I understand how much you hate Josh Allen too, but the guy doesn't turn the ball over in the pocket. You know, he may throw some picks.
How many attempts did he have at passes, though?
But he only threw for 195 this year and only 241 in 2019.
It's a lot easier to pad those stats on percentage when you aren't throwing very often.
No, not really.
You're throwing to the easy ball.
No,
you're throwing the easy.
Here's
you're throwing the easy outs,
Here's the thing. I understand you're hating on Mills, and I get it because of his stats per se. Kellen Mond was in that game against, I believe it was Tennessee. They went to like fucking 19 overtimes. Okay, the guy had like fucking 18. It was like your favorite game. He had like 1,800 yards passing, fucking 18 touchdowns. Like it doesn't matter. It's fucking overtime. I mean, who cares about stats? But you look at the stats, you're like, holy shit, this guy played well. Guy fucking fumbles all the time. He's like Dak. He holds the ball down in his fucking belly button. You know,
Davis Mills had 13 games. What are we talking about here?
But we're talking about the first quarterback taken in college. He was the top quarterback recruit in I think 2018. Okay, so he was a stud in high school. He picked Stanford when he could have went anywhere. He just liked Stanford. But if he went to Ohio State or fucking Michigan or some of these places that throw the ball more, we'd be talking a lot more about Davis Mills.
And then Kellen Mond,
and that's all they do is throw the ball at Texas A&M.
He had a lower He had a lower percentage because of it. He had 57%, 61.6%, and then 63%. But he went up each year. He played 13 games, 10 games. He had 3,100 yards, 2,800 yards, 2,200 yards, and he had 24 touchdowns, 20 touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, 9, and 3. But he played 2 less games the last year. Like his last season, 2020 season, he was on pace to have probably his best year.
I will tell you right now that,
and I'm not saying he's going to be a stud. I don't think either of these guys are going to be good, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't think either one's going to turn out to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I don't. But you never know. And just to say who might take another chance, I think it's going to be Davis Mills because everyone's high on this guy's fucking up this guy's ass. But I really don't see why.
I'm not up his ass. I'm not up his ass. You asked me who was the 7th quarterback, and I would say Davis Mills, way in front of Kellen Mond. Because our top 6 are, even though we can't stand them, Mac Jones is in our top 6. I mean, he has to be. I would say Trask is better, but I'd say Mac Jones is 6 or even 5 because I'm not even really a huge fan of Trey Lance, to be honest with you. But if you ask me who the 7th quarterback was, I'm taking Davis Mills all day. That's all that was. I'm not up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was going to have Davis Mills because I've been hearing more and more about him, and I haven't watched a lot of tape on either of these guys. I've seen a couple of I've seen highlights on Mills. I haven't really seen much of Mills at all, and I've seen like 1 or 2 games of Mond. Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, there's a lot I don't know about these two. I've been listening, researching, and pulling up highlights and stuff like this. And yeah, Davis Mills, he doesn't look bad, but he doesn't blow me away. He doesn't. It's not like I watch it and I'm like, oh man, this kid.
What I think they're going on
is
these guys that you're listening to, because I think Davis Mills is probably going to sneak into the 2nd round. I really believe that people are talking about the potential. They're talking about what they see in somebody, almost like a Darnold or whatever, like what they see he can do in the future. I really think you're seeing Mond's ceiling, and it's not good. It's not. I mean, it's not NFL material. You remember the guy? Remember the guy from Tennessee, Josh Dobbs?
Yes,
that's Mond. Same guy. He'll be the same fucking guy.
Same guy.
Same guy. Oh my God, he's tall and athletic and fucking. He's got these stats in the SEC. He's the same fucking guy. I'll guarantee he's the same guy.
All right, so then we'll say Kellen Mond's my 5, Davis Mills is my salacious 6, and we'll see who goes first.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's another bet we will introduce here soon. All right, so beautiful top 5. I know Scotty had a salacious 6. I'm interested to see where we're going to go with Mond and Mills there. But now we wanted to get into 2 teams. We had 2 fans of the week, like I told you at the top of the show. We got Brennan, who's a Seattle fan, and we got Steven, who's a Detroit fan. We're going to hit Brennan's question first, and we're going to see what he's going to ask us about the Seattle Seahawks.
I feel like the Seahawks have gotten most of their success under Pete Carroll by drafting the right players late and finding what fits our system the best. So my question is, can the Seahawks repeat that in the years coming with Russell Wilson having a good amount of our cap space? Or do you think that the Seahawks are just going to continue to be a 10-6 team and out in the 1st or 2nd round of the playoffs?
What do you think, Scotty? It looks like that Brendan wants to know basically, kind of like what I've been talking about as far as the cap space and really hindering them from winning the fucking Super Bowl. The fact that he's over the 12% and it's going to hinder some of the cap for the rest of the team, do you think they're just going to be another middle-of-the-road team like they did this year where they get to the 1st round of the playoffs and they lose to the Rams? Do you think it's going to be like that? Do you think they fall off? Or do you think they still got a chance to win a Super Bowl? Because I remember you said something about them being an outlier.
My playoff picks, if you remember, I actually have them missing the playoffs this year.
Yes,
which
that's right.
Which sucks because, to be honest with you, Russell Wilson's, if not my favorite quarterback right now in the NFL, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. I love this kid or guy. He's not a kid anymore. He's a phenomenal quarterback, and he's so good at those deep balls, and he's so good at extending the play. And he to me, he's just like all around great. So I want to see them do good. I don't like Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll is a complete jerk-off. I've never liked Pete Carroll.
Yep, I'm with you.
I don't think he's even a very good coach. I think it's all kind of smoke and mirrors. I think they just happen to have a great defense, and then they land at Russell Wilson, is what I think.
Absolutely.
I think their drafting has been atrocious for the most part. So he's right. They haven't gotten a lot of their guys in the 1st round, but it's hard to tell because I feel like they get rid of a lot of their 1st round picks as well.
Their 1st round picks have been awful, but they've actually hit on a lot of their deeper players in the draft.
You're right. You're right. So, as long as they're still getting guys, that's all that matters to me. I just think, personally, I think Seattle's actually a very, very good team. They just need that offensive line squared away, and they need that defense fixed a little bit. And I don't mean completely. I mean like secondary and offensive line, in my personal opinion.
And yeah, you're exactly where I'm at. I got them. Their weaknesses are at guard, and they need another corner. I know they brought in Witherspoon from the Niners, but I don't think Trey Flowers is that great of a corner.
And you would think with an offseason you can just dedicate the time to get those things fixed. My whole issue is with the whole Russell Wilson thing, which I know we've said this a million times now, but I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. But my whole thing is with that turmoil and with that talk and this back and forth between Pete Carroll. I mean, to me, Pete Carroll's a fucking diva. I feel like he wants a lot of the
Absolutely,
attention.
you're exactly right.
And I think a lot of this is causing a rift behind the scenes. And I think because of that, there's a lot of times every year this happens. There's a team that kind of drops off and nobody knows why. And then either later that offseason or like a year or two later, we all find out there was massive turmoil. For instance, the Eagles. The massive turmoil going on in front office and stuff going on behind the scenes. It happens all the time. And I just feel like this year it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of shit going on. And it's a shame for people who are Seahawks fans because I feel like they already kind of just went through this when the Legion of Boom had that issue going against Russell Wilson and the whole throwing the ball instead of running Marshawn Lynch thing. I feel like they already just went through this. And I think they're going to go through it one more time before they get it right. But that's really the only reason why I have them kind of falling off. Because they have the pieces on offense for the most part. They have the pieces on defense. They just need a secondary. They just need a corner and one or two offensive linemen.
And you remember when the story came out that Golden Tate was banging Russell Wilson's ex-wife?
Oh, man.
Remember
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Like
yeah, no, I remember that. They shipped him out.
Shipped
like
him
the
off.
next day.
Yeah, that was it. They're like, fuck you, buddy. You go with your golden dome and ass self and fucking,
Yeah, you know what? Now that you bring that up, as much as I love Russ and as much as he seems like just like the ideal quarterback that you want on your team, I gotta say there's a lot of drama that's kind of surrounding Russ. You got the banging his wife or fiance,
with Golden Tate,
it was. Mm-hmm. You got the Legion of Boom hating him and all that stuff. You got all this going on now, and I don't.
You know why?
I don't want to pick on him or anything because I love the guy and I don't think he's done anything wrong. But that's kind of a lot to me in the last few years.
You know why? Because the guy's fucking positive. That's why people want to shit on positive people. There are people that are negative-ass motherfuckers that want to take positive people down. And that's what he is. That's what he is. He's a positive-minded type guy, and he fucking backs the shit up.
He's a cool cat, man.
Yeah, man.
I think that's part of the reason why I like him so much. He just talks. I'm just like, yeah, man.
He's the shit. I was hoping that the Cowboys fucking did everything in their power to go get him, but of course not. Their strengths to me, Seattle's strengths, of course, Russell Wilson. I love their backfield. I love Carson. I love DJ Dallas. I love Travis Homer. Rashad Penny's going to come back. I know you love him. Don't get me started.
They need these running backs to stay healthy, though. That's the big issue.
Yeah, but if you got four of them, you're okay. Don't get me started with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Unbelievable. Unfucking real.
I agree.
Both of them, DK in the second round, Tyler Lockett in the third round. And then now their tight ends have become a strength. You bring over Gerald Everett from the Rams, super underrated. You got Luke Wilson, and then Will Dissly was having a fantastic season the year right before he tore his Achilles. So they got a deep tight end roster too, and I love their D-line. Their D-line is disgusting. And you know who they just brought in yesterday for a visit?
Who?
Alden Smith.
Oh,
you bring Alden Smith in there, forget about it.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Is Pete Carroll does he make GM
He makes the fucking moves. John Schneider's the GM. He runs the team, though. Carroll runs the team. That's the problem.
Because that's part of the problem is a lot of these free agent moves have been awful. Yeah, honestly,
that's the problem. Carroll is the de facto player personnel guy.
Real quick, the Jimmy Graham move was an awful move. Yeah. That was a waste. Bringing in Clowney was never a good move, good idea. I mean, it was a risk, and he didn't even stay. And then the other thing is Jamal Adams. Look, I'm a diehard Jet fan. I watched every snap of Jamal Adams.
He's unbelievable.
To him.
They gave too much.
I really believe he's the number one, or if not number two safety in the league. Maybe you can say number 2 or 3 because he can't cover as well. But what he brings to the table as a safety is unreal. He's actually more like an outside linebacker. I mean, we played him in like every position.
Yeah.
He is unreal. With that being said, I would have never given up for 2 first-rounders for him.
Dude, they gave up the farm for him, and that was a mistake. Yeah.
Ever. When that happened, so many people were hitting me up like, oh, my God, are you upset? I was like, no. Oh, are you kidding me? We hit the fucking lottery.
Yeah, like you just said in the earlier episode, you said that you took Jamal Adams of top 5 pick, right? And you converted him to what, 2 or 3 first round picks? I mean, hello.
It was two. What was it? 2 firsts and like a third or something.
No brainer. Fucking no brainer. So
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
And then let Seattle pay him. I mean, it's just perfect. But their weaknesses, they need a guard, they need a linebacker, they need a cornerback, and then here's where it gets bad. Brennan, bro, this is where it gets bad. Not only are you in the NFC West,
I know that is the shitty part.
and it's an unbelievable. It's probably the best division in football. If
Yeah,
you're
most
not
likely.
only that, you don't have a first-round pick this year. You don't have a first-round pick next year. You only have 3 picks total this year, and it's a second, a fourth, and a seventh. So, not good. And then you got Russ on top of the 12%. I mean, all of those things point towards not only does Seattle not win a Super Bowl, I believe Seattle wins the division still, but there's a great chance they don't even make the playoffs. So, honestly, I would, with your 56th pick, it's your first pick of the draft. It's in the second round. You either got to go after those 3 weaknesses. You got to go after maybe Wyatt Davis, the Ohio State guard, or you go after Jabril Cox, fucking nasty LSU linebacker, or you go for like Javon Holland, a corner/safety from Oregon who picks balls off.
I like Holland. Holland's pretty good.
Picks balls off. He'll stay in the Pacific Northwest, and you start rebuilding that Legion of Boom a little bit.
What if one of these guys slip like a Farley or a Newsome or?
Absolutely. Any guy that slips, say like linebacker, Wyatt Davis is the best guard on the board. So if you can get him in the second round, that'd be fantastic. Sans, of course, Elijah Vera Tucker that plays all over the place.
What about your boy Nick Bolton? Too high?
No, he'll be gone. He'll be gone.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. If Bolton's not taken in the back of the first round, he'll be taken in the top 10 picks in the second round. Absolutely. Kid's a stud. Jabril Cox only played 1 year. He transferred to LSU from North Dakota State. And Bolton had been doing it for 3 years in the SEC. So, no, he's going. Javon Holland's a nasty player. It's just they don't know whether he's going to play corner or safety or not.
Yeah, I was going to have him on my titillating or salacious 6, but
Maybe a salacious 7, huh?
the safeties aren't too hot, though.
No, you're right.
I think he's going to play safety. I don't know if he's going to play corner.
But he's a ball hawk. So, but Brennan, man, thanks for the question, and I wish your Seahawks the best. Because we both love Russ, but we both hate Pete Carroll. So, I'd love to get your thoughts if you wanted to ask another question on another show about your thoughts on Pete Carroll. But I'll tell you what, we fucking hate the guy. So that's Seattle. Now we're gonna get to Steven and his Detroit Lions.
Does Jared Goff have a future in Detroit? And with all the things Detroit needs now, does Detroit even have a future in the next 5 years?
So Steven asks about his Detroit Lions and how Goff is going to be situated in Detroit, and what does that mean for the next 5 years of the franchise? What do you think, Scotty?
Well, first off, I just want to say I hope we didn't wake up Steven when he was asking that fucking question. I hope Sleeping Beauty over there didn't get disrupted by this fucking thing, because the guy sounded like he just rolled out of bed and just fucking called us in real quick.
The best part is that if we're the first thing he's thinking about in the morning, that's a pretty damn good thing.
So I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not a Jared Goff hater. In fact, to kind of circle back around to where we started on this whole show today, we brought up receivers, and a guy you brought up before was Robert Woods.
Yes.
And you agree Robert Woods is a pretty solid receiver, right?
Robert Woods is the definition of solid receiver, yes.
Okay. Well, for those who don't remember or don't recall, Robert Woods didn't do shit in Buffalo. Now, A lot of receivers don't do shit in Buffalo. I'll give you that. But Diggs doesn't seem to be having too much trouble in Buffalo. My point being is...
Cole Beasley as well. Yeah.
Cole Beasley, yeah. There comes a point where maybe he actually has made a couple players better than what you think, or maybe Robert Woods just kind of blossomed and became what he is. I don't know. But I think Goff throws a beautiful ball. I think Goff's biggest issue is once you start to put the game on his shoulders. He's a game manager. He's just an elite game manager, in my opinion. He's like, to me, Jared Goff, an Alex Smith kind of guy.
Absolutely.
That's what he is. But you can win with Alex Smith.
Yeah.
You just need the team around him.
Yeah.
So as soon as you try to make him be the guy to take you to that next level, that's when you got issues. You got to have a good run game. You got to have good wide receivers. You got to have a solid defense. And I don't think that's a bad building block as you build the team, because Detroit needs a lot of work right now. They're in rebuild mode. So they got those picks. I think you can keep Goff there for a little bit. How long they got him on the contract for? 3 years, something like that?
Goff is under 3 years, and I will get into that, but go ahead.
Let's say he's under 3 years. In the next 2 years, if Goff is god-awful, all right, then you move on from him. But if he's mediocre and he gets a little better and better and better with building the team around him, then that third year, you can maybe bring in a guy and see if Goff, almost do like an Alex Smith kind of
Mahomes thing. You're right.
Yeah, like an Alex Smith Mahomes thing, and then go from there. And who knows? Maybe because Jared Goff's not that old, maybe he takes that next step. Because to me, Alex Smith, when he went to that, when he had the right coaching around him with Jim Harbaugh, he took that next step. Now, agreed, he's still a game manager. I'm not saying this guy's fucking Tom Brady or Drew Brees or anything like that. He's still a game manager, but he was clearly missing a confidence that Jim Harbaugh instilled in him.
Yes.
And I think he carried that with him for the rest of his career. Because in Kansas City, he wasn't bad. And then in Washington, he wasn't bad. The problem is all of a sudden he started getting older and he started getting injuries and offenses started becoming more mobile and he became less mobile. So I think it just kind of all caught up with him. But I think if he had Harbaugh from the get-go, we might have been talking about a very different Alex Smith career than we are talking about now.
Sure.
I think Jared Goff could be in that same circumstance.
And Goff, yeah.
And real quick, I'll let you go. But Dan Campbell, I'm not saying he knows shit about quarterbacks, but I do think he's the kind of guy, like a Jim Harbaugh, where he's fucking crazy, that he can instill that confidence. Because he's the kind of guy that you want in your corner. Because this guy's trying to bite kneecaps off. He's saying outlandish shit. He's out of his mind. He seems like one of the boys.
He is one of the boys.
He seems like a guy you're going to want to fight for and kind of build you up.
Yeah.
So that might be a perfect situation for Goff.
He's the absolute opposite of a Wilkinson. I'll tell you what.
Poor Wilkes probably listening, all upset you said that.
Jared Goff is, I think you nailed it. I think he's a beautiful thrower of the ball. I think he's a less mobile, because he's not really mobile at all, and that's his problem. But he's a less mobile, elite armed game manager, right?
Yeah.
And Dan Campbell is one of the boys. Dan Campbell was a tight end for the Giants, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, a bunch of teams, Lions, and he's a Parcells disciple, Dan Campbell, right? Problem with Dan Campbell is he just like the rest of the Bill Belichick disciples? Like, just because he's a disciple of someone doesn't mean that you're going to pan out, right? I don't like what he was doing with Miami when he took over for Joel Philbin, when Joel Philbin got fired. So I don't think ultimately, and the Jets still couldn't, fucking get over that hump. But, I just want to say that Dan Campbell will be hopefully the Harbaugh to Goff. And Brad Holmes is the GM. Brad Holmes was the GM with the Rams who drafted Goff. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why they brought him over, right? But here's the thing.
I think he was like the assistant GM or something like that, but go ahead.
But here's the thing. Goff is 5% of the cap right now. 1 fucking year. Next year he goes up to 15. Okay? So what I think is that Detroit's got to find out now if he's the guy. He's got 1 year. You do not keep a guy that you don't think is the guy at 15% of your cap next year. You don't do it.
But if they get that deal and it goes up high enough and they don't make crazy other moves, he could drop down to that 12% range. Because 15 to 12 is not too different.
Here's where I think, let me just tell you about the strengths of the Lions, and I will tell you what I think they're going to do. Unbelievably deep at running back, this team, okay? You got DeAndre Swift, you just brought in Jamal Williams, and you still got Kerryon Johnson. That's a fucking nice backfield, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
I really like what they're doing there. I like their defensive line. I think their defensive line is deep. You got Trey Flowers and Romeo Okwara at the ends. Love that. Then you got Michael Brockers you just brought in from the Rams, and you still got Nick Williams in the middle with Deshaun Hand, the guy from Alabama, as your third defensive tackle. Love what they're doing there. Problem is that not only does Goff go up to 15 next year, the strength of your team in the next 2 years is the fact that you have 2 first-round picks in 2022 and 2 first-round picks in 2023. You know what that screams to me, Scotty?
What?
Trading up for a quarterback. I think you have Goff for this 1 year at 5%. You see what you got. You draft Devontae Smith with your 7th pick. You give him a receiver to work with T.J. Hawkinson and Tyrell Williams, who you just brought in. You still got Quintez Cephas, who I think is an underrated receiver. Then you say, is he the guy or is he not? Because when he goes up to 15, you got to ship his ass out if he's not. You either got to rework his deal to get under the 12, or you got to ship him out and you got to get those first-round picks to get a quarterback. So
I said the same thing about Philly having 2 picks next year.
yeah, and exactly. I think Jalen Hurts is on a 1-year deal, and if I'm fucking Miami, I'd say the same shit about Tua. You're on a 1-year deal, pal. We're gonna get you some help, and then you're out of here if you ain't the guy. But their weaknesses are they need linebackers. Their linebackers are weak as fuck. So I think the guy that I mentioned,
Jamie Collins, and who else is there?
it's bad. I mean, their linebackers are bad. They got Jelani Tavai and Jalen Reeves-Maben. Sean Dion Hamilton was a bust from Alabama.
Yeah,
they have
terrible.
no linebackers. Okay, I think their secondary is okay. I think it could be better, but I think it's okay. I think they need some depth. I like their starters, but I think they need some depth. And their biggest weakness right now is Aaron fucking Rodgers. They can't beat him. He's in a division. He's going to be there for at least another year. You can't beat him. So you got to wait till he gets the fuck out of the division, I think, in my opinion, till you have any shot at winning the thing.
I think if they get the right defense, I think they could stop them. But I think they need to stop worrying about what's next. They need to get through the division first.
Okay.
Win your division first.
Yeah.
So instead of, and that's why I don't think it's impossible, I just don't think they've ever done it. Have you ever seen the Lions make moves? And I think a big part of the problem is, and no offense to Sleepy Boy Steven, but a big problem with Detroit is it's not a marketable team. Nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to live there. Nobody wants to play there.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate. I've actually
yes.
never been to Detroit, so I'm not going to really talk bad on it. I just know it gets cold there. I know it's not always the safest city. I know it's a different lifestyle if you're outside of the city because it gets very
Sure.
You know, you got the lakes and shit.
Yeah,
it's just a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
Where you go to New York, you go to LA, you go to even Texas or Florida. It's very marketable. I mean, you can almost say the same thing about Kansas City, but it's still different. At least the weather's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just not a destination for free agents. So it's very difficult. You have to make the right draft picks. You have to keep your people there, but you have to make sure you're making the right moves to go after Aaron Rodgers because you're not going to just be able to pull and plug guys because it's hard to get players that want to be there. I mean, look how many guys have left there in the last few years
here's
that have been studs.
The two things that I can tell you is, as far as that point goes, is bringing people into Detroit. You know, I can think of 2 off the top of my head in another sport, in the fucking NBA, which I can't stand. I can think about 2 cities that completely changed the mold of how they were looked at, and it's Cleveland and Golden State, right? Oakland and Cleveland, right? So those are the 2 big things. You can do it. You can do it in the NFL too. It's been done.
I need to explain to the people who already know this, but I'm just going to point it out there. There's a reason why those 2 places became what they were, because you had the 1 and 2 or top 5 player in the world at that sport in that city and repping that city.
How did they do it though? How did Cleveland
LeBron
and how
was
did
born there? That's
but I'm saying
that's the only reason why Cleveland did it.
How did Cleveland and Golden State did it? They fucking drafted those guys.
I agree.
They didn't have to bring them in because you don't want to go to Cleveland. You don't want to go to Detroit. You don't want to go to Oakland.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to draft.
They got to hit
Mahomes.
They got to hit
or the next Tom Brady, and then that guy, he will be your magnet to get the other free agents.
But it's guys.
Because the city and market alone won't do it.
It's guys.
It just won't.
Because what they did was, and I'll go, and my number 2 point is, you had a guy like Barry Sanders. What did he do? Prematurely retire because he couldn't stand it. He wasn't a guy like nowadays where get me out of here, get me out of here. Same thing with the number 2 guy, Calvin Johnson.
I agree.
Calvin Johnson said, get me out of here. I'm going to sit down instead of say, fuck you, I'm going somewhere else or this place sucks. They did it the respectful way and they retired. Didn't. I wish they didn't.
But they also didn't have the cachet and the charisma like a Tom Brady or like an Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
Or Russ Wilson, to where they go out there and say, hey, come play for us.
But do you know,
even Lamar Jackson, even Richard Sherman, a lot of these guys that have that charisma, they recruit guys. Le'Veon Bell did it. I mean, they got guys going out there saying, "Hey, come here, play here." Calvin Johnson didn't say a fucking word. Barry Sanders didn't say a fucking word.
Here's why, though.
You gotta promote where you're at, whether you believe it or not. You gotta do it.
Here's why I'm saying guys. It's not just guy, because they drafted Stafford first overall. You think
another guy doesn't say shit, though.
When you get a quarterback first overall that is as good and as electric as Stafford is, you would think that'd be enough, right? Well, it wasn't, apparently, because Calvin left his ass, right? So let's just go over real quick the first round players that Detroit drafted. This is why. Ndamukong Suh, they took him second. Okay. The next year they took Nick Fairley 13th. The next year, Riley Reif, 23rd. The next year, Ezekiel Ansah, 5th. The next year, Ebron, 10th. I can go on and on about all these guys that they have fucked up in the first round.
Well, Sue was a steal.
Sue's
Fairly
a steal.
wasn't the worst.
Would you take Sue at 2?
No.
Right? So
well, Sue, I would take it too. Sue was a fucking man-child.
I agree, but they didn't pay him, right? They didn't keep him there. But all these guys, like Ezekiel Ansah at 5, give me a break.
No, that's way too high.
Ebron 10, Hawkinson at 8. I mean,
yeah, those are all way too high.
Insanity, right? So if you drafted the right guys like Golden State did with Thompson and Curry and all these guys, they weren't number 1 or number 2 overall. With Draymond Green, the second-round pick, they did it the right way. So that's why Detroit doesn't have the cachet. They could have turned it around. Fuck what the city is. Fuck what the weather is. If you take the right guys, then you're there. They fucked up.
I agree, but they just haven't done it, and that's my point.
Because nobody can do it in free agency.
And when you get a guy that can be the shit, you need him to be able to have the cachet. For instance, Baker Mayfield, best thing to fucking ever happen to Cleveland.
I'm with you.
You know why?
I agree.
Because even if he sucks the next 10 years of his career, he has put some cachet into. He's put some moxie into Cleveland.
He would have been perfect for the Jets. He would have been perfect for the Jets.
Dude, Dr. Tomas and Palazzo always gave me shit about loving. They would shit on Rex Ryan. I have no idea why.
I love Rex.
I mean, his style obviously can't be too long term because it's it fades after a while. I agree with that. But he's my favorite coach of all time, and the reason is because the first time ever as a Jet fan for those 3-4 years that he was like, we were actually solid for those first 3 years. He made us feel like basically like, why are you feeling sorry for yourselves? You don't. We suck. Fuck them. We're the shit. We're gonna go and start punching people in the mouth, and we're gonna win some fucking football games. And all of a sudden we're like, are we? And he's like, fuck yes. And then he goes out there and starts doing it, and he's like, well, we're not quitting. We're keep going. Like he gives you that energy, that moxie. Where you're like, oh shit.
Absolutely.
And that's why I thought he was great for the Bills too. I thought his only issue with the Bills was they weren't ready. That if he failed there, he was gonna be out of league coaching, which he is. I think he should have went somewhere like Atlanta, where he had Matt Ryan. He needed.
I was gonna say he didn't have a quarterback in Buffalo.
He should have went to Atlanta,
Yep.
but his style was perfect for Buffalo. They just needed a quarterback.
Yes.
Him and Josh Allen would have been boys.
Absolutely.
They would have been getting in bar fights together. I swear to God.
Absolutely, he would have been perfect. And he should be a head coach. I hope Rex comes back. But Steven, like we said with Brennan and the Seahawks, you have 7th, 41st, and 42nd picks in the first 3 rounds. I think it's got to be receiver at the top. I think whether that's Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle, or you got to hope to God that Jamar Chase falls to you at 7, but I doubt it. And then in the 41st pick in the second round, if Jamin Davis is there, linebacker from UK that I talked about earlier in my salacious 7, basically what we made it. If he's there in the second round, boom, you got a steal at linebacker. And then Jalen Mayfield will stay in state, the University of Michigan star tackle. If you can get him in the 3rd round, that'd be a pretty great draft that you can bring in, and you can now finally feel comfortable with Goff at quarterback next year, see what he's got, surround him with a new right tackle, surround him with a great Heisman-winning receiver, and I think this is the year you figure out whether Dan Campbell and Jared Goff are for real.
I think personally, the arrow is pointing up. I think they're going to start to progress. I think they're in a good position. And I don't know if Jared Goff's going to be the guy. I think it's a nice start, though. I'd rather, if I'm starting a foundation, I'd rather start with him than some of the other options that are out there. So, I'd rather be in this situation than the Patriots situation. I'll tell you that right now.
No, I'm with you. I'm completely with you. And I think Brad Holmes, you got to trust Brad Holmes to turn that thing around like he did with the Rams. It all starts with Dan Campbell, and then it starts with Jared Goff. Steven, like I said, you guys will hopefully get out of the basement in the NFC North. I think that's now reserved for the Chicago Bears, in my opinion.
The Bears.
Now, Scotty boy, I thought that was great today. I really think we had a good one. We got a couple delicious, tasty pieces to get into for episode 11. And we're going to delve into some Hall of Fame talk. I really want to crunch the numbers on some of these quarterbacks like the Davis Mills and the Kellen Mond, and even we'll maybe delve deeper into Kyle Trask. But for now, this is Rocco B, and for Scotty G, we're going to say see you later and sayonara. We'll see you in episode 11.
Adios.